Well, God bless the great state of Texas. Bill, thank you very much. Thank you to each of you for being here. Mr. Mayor, Gene, Al, Sheila, it's great to be with you. It is great to be in the city of Houston celebrating the men and women of our military, celebrating our veterans. Houston loves our veterans. Texas loves our veterans. America loves our veterans. And today is a day where we simply say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts to every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman, every one of you who has put on the uniform, raised your hand as the Major so powerfully described, and risked it all to keep this country safe. We owe you a debt of gratitude that is profound. Yesterday, the United States Marine Corps celebrated a birthday. Happy birthday. I love how Ronald Reagan put it. Some people spend their entire lives wondering if they made a difference in the world. Marines don't have that problem. And we are so grateful for the service and sacrifice of the men and women of our armed forces. You know, I'm reminded of two illustrations of that, both involving Fort Hood. We all remember that tragic terror attack of Nidal Hasan when he walked through Fort Hood, murdering 14 innocent souls. I can tell you one of the proudest moments of my service in the United States Senate was introducing the legislation to mandate that those soldiers receive the Purple Heart. That incident had not been considered a terrorist attack. It had been considered workplace violence, and they had been denied the Purple Heart. And I remember in the Senate, the Pentagon, the administration fought giving that award, and I was so proud to see Democrats and Republicans coming together in a bipartisan manner on the Senate Armed Services Committee to say, we are going to honor their service and sacrifice. We passed that legislation. And I remember being at Fort Hood as those Purple Hearts were awarded. One soldier after another, or one grieving family member after another. And to each and every one of them, as I shook their hands or just hugged their necks, I just said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry it took 5 years for your country to acknowledge the sacrifice that you gave fighting against terrorists and enemies of this country, and thank you for the ultimate commitment. You know, I also remember a couple of years ago another tragic shooting at Fort Hood. This one not a terrorist attack, but a tragic shooting nonetheless. And I had the opportunity to go to the hospital and visit those soldiers who had been shot. There's one young soldier in particular I remember who had been shot through the arm and the spleen. And he had been scheduled to be married. He had to postpone his wedding because getting shot intervened with the scheduling. And he was there with his fiancée, with his family. And I was coming in thanking him, and I was there with General Milley, who was then the commanding general. And this young soldier in his hospital gown, he looked up and he said, General Milley, I want to be a Ranger. Can you get me into Ranger school? Now, he says this with 2 holes in him and the sutures fresh in his body from the bullet wounds. And the general laughs. He says, I'll get you into Ranger school. You got to get yourself out. And I'll tell you a follow-up the next day. A couple of members of Congress were back there, again visiting those who had been wounded. This same young soldier, they went in with General Milley, and this soldier, he leans up, he said, General, now remember, you promised to get me into Ranger school. And the general removed the patch from his uniform. He set it on the hospital gown. And he said, son, today you're a Ranger. That's the kind of bravery we see. of these young men and women who risk everything for our country, and despite fresh wounds, the only thought so many of them have is, how can I do more? How can I serve more? I'm reminded of Chester Nimitz, the great American admiral who led our forces in the Pacific in World War II, a great Texan. He observed, reflecting on the sacrifices at Iwo Jima, uncommon valor was a common virtue among our servicemen. That is so true. That uncommon valor characterizes so many of the men and women who have stood forward and risked everything. You know, we all know the great poem that Charles Province wrote that reminds us of the impact, where our liberties come from. It is the soldier. It is the soldier, not the minister, who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the campus organizer, who has given us the freedom to protest. It is the soldier, not the lawyer, who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier, not the politician, who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. Today, and I hope also tomorrow and the day after and each and every day that follows, all of us simply say to all of those men and women who have served, thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you, we appreciate you, and we are so grateful for that uncommon valor that protects the greatest nation in the history of the world. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Senator, and those